So joining us now is Sheriff Clarke, America's sheriff. He's also former sheriff, Milwaukee County, former Democrat on our show all the time. You can follow him on townhall.com. He has some good articles there that come out once a week. He has a column, and he's also senior advisor for webuildawall.us. Sheriff Clarke, great to have you.
Good morning, John. We're going to have to change your name to Gulliver when you get around. We're going to have to get you a hot air balloon so you can escape all those TSA checkpoints.
I know, right? But there's nothing like, and when we get to the Midwest, and we'll certainly be doing a tour in some of the swing states, we have to get you on the bus because it's so much fun. Look, it's a tremendous amount of work because your mobile radio, we're carrying stuff from town to town. But like what we did in Iowa and New Hampshire is we would go to various events. We'd start out in the morning at some diner, and then we'd do a second show in the afternoon, and we'd be at the Pete event or the Bernie event, and or the Klobuchar event, and you talk to people. We went and visited Yang and got to know him. You talk to their supporters. They come on the bus right at their event, and they tell you everything. They tell you what you don't find out in the fake news because these are real voters who are there. And, boy, you learn a lot. And when we went to a Biden event in New Hampshire on Friday. And this is when he said he was going to finish fifth in New Hampshire. I mean, there was nobody there. There was nobody there. And the people that were there didn't even think he was going to win. It's like they were there out of obligation. And we're like, oh, my God, this campaign is going nowhere. Biden's done. Handicap this whole thing for us, Sheriff. You've been in politics a long time, and you've been on the Democratic side, so you know a little bit about the Democratic Party, as we all know. So tell us what is going on here.
Yeah, let's sort that out a little bit. First of all, there's still a long way to go. 48 states left, or in Obama's case, it'd be like 55, because he said he'd been to all 57 states when he was campaigning. But it's still early. The thing is, these wins, so to speak, Sanders comes out ahead in Iowa and in New Hampshire, but, it's like 9 and 10 delegates. So I don't know what it means when people say, Sanders won the way the states pick it up. But keep in mind that Bernie Sanders in 2015, going into the 2016 election, he won 28 states, and Mrs. Bill Clinton only won 22. So he knows how to win in these states. He knows how to turn his people out to vote. And that's what he's good at. But, again, the system was rigged in 2015, so he wasn't getting delegates back then either. They were all, the fix was in for Mrs. Bill Clinton. Biden is on life support. If you want to use another medical diagnosis, he's brain dead, but they still detect a heartbeat.
That's so mean.
Liz Warren, she's taking on water, no doubt about it. Buttigieg, he's hanging tough. Klobuchar, coming in third is nice, but I'll tell you what, that's like a participation trophy to come in third. You don't get into these things to come in third. I suppose if you were Sanders and you came in third in a state that was supposed to go to one of the other people, that would be okay, and not for her. Yang bowed out. Mercifully, he bowed out. And, but again, this thing is a long way to go. And don't laugh at it, and I know you're not doing this, John, but, to your listeners, don't laugh at Bernie Sanders, okay? That guy's got to be taken seriously because he has control of that lunatic fringe base that's in control of the Democrat Party right now. It's their biggest fear. It's their biggest nightmare for the DNC and other people who are part of the Democrat establishment. Sanders isn't one of them. He runs as an independent. He's basically a socialist. So, big problems for them. But you know what? In the end, keep this in mind. Whoever the nominee is, even if it's Sanders, he's going to start in the general election with 48% of the vote and about 200 electoral votes on his, where he needs to get about 270. So that's why I say don't laugh at this guy. You got to take him seriously.
Sheriff, you're so right. And we just had Corey Lewandowski on, Sheriff Clarke, and he said something very interesting. He said if you looked at the two victory speeches last night, Bernie Sanders in Manchester and Mayor Pete in Nashville, he said Mayor Pete gets up, everything is very scripted, everything is very clinical. He's got the teleprompter, everything is choreographed. He knows what type of people to get there. He set everybody up behind him. of to get the biggest backdrop that he can, right? So everything is perfectly done and choreographed. He said they're very good at this, right? The digital media everything was in order, was perfect. It was the perfect speech, right? He said you juxtapose that with Bernie Sanders, who's got a raucous crowd of people cheering with signs, no teleprompter, no notes. He's got his grandchildren there. He's got his wife there. He's got all supporters behind him. They're all screaming, drinking beer. He said that's a movement. The other guy is a corporation candidate, like an ad guy, right? Here's the media guy versus the movement. Who are you going to bet on? You're going to bet on the movement, right? So that's what Lewandowski said. I think he nailed it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Buttigieg, he's buttoned up, right? He's from the corporate side. I mean, in terms of his appearance, the tie, the blue blazer, the khaki pants, the penny loafers. That's him. You look at Sanders, like you said, and like Corey said, the guy's hair's all messed up. It looks like he slept in his clothes. But
right.
He knows how to fire up a crowd, and that's why I said, you got to take this guy seriously. The Democrats realize, I'm talking about, when I say the Democrats, I'm talking about the DNC and the establishment of that party. They're having nightmares right now. This is a nightmare scenario for them. Although, compare and contrast back to the 2016 election with the Republican side, it was the same thing. The RNC, let's be honest, the RNC did not want Donald Trump. The establishment did not want Donald Trump. Marco Rubio, who was a candidate at the time, said, and I remember this distinctly, he said, Donald Trump will not be the nominee of our party. So they were wigging out over there, too, over Donald Trump. And so I see some parallels to what's going on over there, and that's why I don't, put a whole lot of stock into it in terms of panic and whatnot, because our side, the conservative side, was going through the same thing in 2015, but yet the guy who was best for that party at the time, which was Donald Trump, came out on top. And so the Democrats, they're going to have to rehuddle. They're going to have to regroup and come to the realization that this might be our guy. As far as the brokered convention, they were predicting that in 2016 for the Republicans, saying nobody would get to the 2,100 or whatever delegates they needed. And I kept saying it will not be a brokered convention. I kept saying that. Nobody believed me. They laughed at me. What does Clarke know? Well, I know a lot because I pay attention. I was all across America speaking to the GOP base. I hit like 31 states in the campaign in 2016 on behalf of Donald Trump, and I could feel the energy. I could feel the surge that was coming. So I see some parallels there, which is why I want to caution people: don't write this guy Bernie Sanders off. You can dismiss him at your own peril.
I agree with you, Sheriff. I've been saying that for some time. That he's going to be the nominee and that he shouldn't be taken lightly because, like you said, he starts off with 200 electoral votes right out of the bat. It doesn't matter. I mean, it was kind of interesting. Joe Biden said yesterday, who was completely done, his campaign's over, he said, Mickey Mouse could beat Trump. Well, Mickey Mouse can't beat Trump, but Mickey Mouse can get 200 electoral votes against Trump. So he had it kind of half right. And so Bernie Sanders starts there. But when you've got a movement, when you've got that many people excited and they work, and look, again, I'm not going to keep patting ourselves on the back for doing the mobile radio tour that we did in Iowa, New Hampshire. But when you talk to Sanders supporters, when they come on your bus, when you see the enthusiasm they have, and, a lot of the people that we talk to, they're not crazy. Right? I mean, you could say, well, it's kind of the lunatic fringe, but we talked to a lot of Sanders supporters that were younger but had jobs, that were successful, that just happened to believe in getting money out of politics, getting Wall Street out, and in Medicare for all. So he's got a fervent base, and they're not going away. Now, the problem the Democrats have, Sheriff, your old party has, quite frankly, is they don't want Bernie. Because they know that they think Bernie's going to lose, and they think he's going to take the House down with him. And the Republicans, Trump's going to win the House back, keep the Senate, and so that's why they're petrified. But 50%, we talked to probably 20 Bernie supporters that were at Bernie events, going to his town halls over 2 states. 50% of them said if they steal it from Bernie, they'd stay home. They wouldn't vote for Trump, but they wouldn't vote for a Bloomberg or a Pete or a Klobuchar or somebody that the DNC inserts in there. That's a problem for the Democrats because they got this one guy they don't want, but then if they steal it from him, they alienate a big percentage of Bernie's base. So what do they do?
And that's the problem they have. But when people get into these situations, I had to do it to our side, the conservative side, the Republican side in 2015, 2016. Got to talk them in off the ledge. Independents. I don't know how they're going to view Bernie Sanders. I would, if I had to guess, and I don't like to do this, but I will for your show. I don't see the independents swaying his way. He's a little too far left for independents even, and that's really what's going to decide the election. In those 7 or 8 states, those swing states. So it's going to be difficult for him. So even though he starts with 48% of the vote and about 200 electoral votes, can he move the needle? He may end up with 48% of the vote and 200 when all is said and done. So for him, I don't see that he appeals to a cross-section of people. I just don't. I don't see how blacks, the black vote, or even Latinos, Hispanics, I don't see how they cozy up to this far left-wing socialist goon. So those are the things that I think the heads of the Democrat Party right now are thinking is, how are we going to have a mass appeal with this guy? And so that may be, where President Trump can make some inroads into those votes, those demographics, the emerging demographics, Hispanics, but the black vote. You cannot win. You cannot win the presidency without, if you're a Democrat, without the black vote. You cannot do it. So, we're still early in the game, and it's a long way to go. But as for Bloomberg, I'll tell you what, people, I've been whipping him on social media, at Sheriff Clarke on Twitter, and the same on Parler, at Sheriff Clarke. Some people are saying, you're a little hard on Bloomberg. I'll tell you why. In 2014, he dumped $250,000 into my sheriff's race to try to defeat me. He tried to picture me as a gun nut and a pawn for the NRA. I ended up winning that election, by the way, so I beat Bloomberg money. But so now I'm thinking, what's my turn now, Mike? Now you're going to find out what it's like. I'm going to do everything I can to make it difficult for you not only to get the nomination, but to become president. I don't have the money you have that you dumped on me in my campaign, but I got a platform, and I'm going to be out there using that platform, and I'm going to be speaking with a megaphone how this guy is a gun grabber, he's for gun confiscation, he's a control freak, and he's the 1%er. You notice Bernie Sanders, going back to him, he's now talking about billionaires. He doesn't. And last time around in 2016, he would say millionaires and billionaires. Everything he talked about, millionaires and billionaires. Now he's only saying billionaires because he's a millionaire. Mm-hmm. All right? That guy's very wealthy. And so he stays away from millionaires now. But see, this is how intently I listen. Every time he talks, he only says billionaires now. Because if he said millionaires and billionaires, he'd be talking about himself.
Wow. So true. So let's get to the statement he made that some people are saying is a racist statement. He said this when he was mayor of New York. We played it earlier. I'm not going to play it again. The tape is hard to really get over the radio, but we tweeted it out. That's a little cleaner. Let me ask you something. Is that a game changer for him? Is that going to hurt him?
It could, big time. And I noticed that Warren and Sanders are capitalizing on it. It could hurt him, but in the end, who knows? It's really hard to say. But what he said was inarticulate. Okay, this guy's arrogant, Bloomberg. He's always been able to throw money at things. He spent $250 million already in ads, and he isn't even technically, he's not even in the race yet. He's always been able to buy his way through life. So watch for the next Bloomberg ads to come out. I know there's one out there already using Obama as the backdrop, and Obama's saying, this guy's a great guy, Mayor Bloomberg, because it was a Moms Against Guns event, and he's using that, but he's going to have to shore that up. So you'll see him run a lot of ads where he's, being nice to black people, to pander. But like I said, what he said was inarticulate. What he said in substance was correct. You put the cops where the crime is. Put the cops on the dots, we used to call it, on the crime map. And you got dots where the robberies, burglaries, shootings, on a pin map. and you put the cops on the dots, it's a phrase. But see, this guy, he doesn't have the gift of gab, and so he was very articulate talking about these people and the black males are all committing crimes. Well, yeah, overwhelmingly that's true, but there's a way to say it where people look and they go, yeah, you got a point there. You're kind of right. Bill Bratton was good at it. Some others were good at it. You have to be articulate, and he's very inarticulate, and he put his foot in his mouth. Now he's going to have to answer for it.
That statement he made, although I guess they're going to try to spin it because, like you said, I'm going to put the cops where the crime is. If he left it at that, I think that would have been fine. But the statement went on, and it's a little descriptive, and it says, we're going to throw, the African Americans up against the wall or something. I don't have the transcript in front of me, but look, the fake news media is going to ignore it because they see him as their savior to beat Trump. But this thing is getting out on social media. My producer, Kiera, who's a millennial African-American woman, Democrat, who you talk to every day, just talked to her 15 minutes ago, she's in Virginia. She was going to vote for Bloomberg on Super Tuesday, and now she says she's not. She's searching for someone else. I mean, that just isn't a good sign for him. I think that there's a lot. There's going to be some fallout from this. Sheriff Clarke, I'm out of time. Thank you for being with us, as always. Great insight. Sheriff Clarke, America Sheriff. Go to americasheriff.com. Sheriff Clarke, thanks for being with us. Read his stuff, townhall.com. Thank you, Sheriff.